Meigovanen everyone, welcome back to another trailer reaction video. This is my reaction to a new series called Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I seen the Brad Pitt Angelina Jolie movie. It was okay. And I haven't seen this yet, but you know, it caught my eye and I clicked on it and I saw comments down below. So even though I may not have a super high interest in seeing this, but maybe I'll still watch it, just because I'm kind of curious. But the thing that caught my eye were, like I said, the comments, and it's a lot of it is okay. One person put something like Mr. and Mrs. Woke, right? Okay, and I don't like to use that word, but that was the comment. And I replied back with my 2 cents on there, which is basically what I'm going to say here. And one person replied, well, I try to look at it, replied to me saying, I try to look at it like, Smith is such a generic last name that it could still reside in the same world of the Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So I said, okay, that's very good. That's a good way to look at it. So I'm going to look at it like that. And then you have other people that just give this generic and unintelligent kind of answer by saying, not that I'm a brilliant person or anything, but I'm just saying, someone replied back to someone else, not mine, because mine wasn't, mine was what I'm about to say here, but replying to the original Mr. and Mrs. Woke. Someone replied, wow, 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 they're not white, wow, wow, right? Another person said something like, why does it, who cares if they're not white? Can't we just enjoy it for being good? Something like that, to that effect. It's still kind of generic. My thing about that is, I'm all about the source material, or how something is originally written. So I would start off by saying, for example, with something like Blade. Blade is a black hybrid, half vampire, half human superhero. I love that guy, and I love Wesley Snipes. I think he's great, and I think that Blade is also great. And I remember from the 90s Spider-Man cartoons, after school, sometimes Blade would be on there along with like Punisher, and I just thought it was great. I would have a problem if they turned him Chinese or turned him white or Indian or something. Kamala Khan is Indian. Keep her Indian, Pakistani, right? So keep them the race and the gender that they are. There's no need to change it. Because honestly, unless it's something tremendously hard to find, I'll give you an example, and it's not really a lot of examples out there like that. Really, it's very rare, that maybe there's a need to race swap. Or okay, well, there's the Ben Affleck Daredevil. What was that, like 2003? Was it 2004? Something like that, with Ben Affleck. And now I just had his name, and the one who played Kingpin from The Green Mile, I just had it and now I forgot his name. Michael Clark Duncan. He played Fisk, Kingpin. Now at the time, maybe they just really could not find a big man that fits that frame. Now maybe they could have found any old fat man, but it has to be a specific kind of fat man. He's not completely just a fat man. It's fat, but it's also all muscle. It looks like it's fat, but it's all muscle. And I guess someone had to fit that bill where they're big like that and kind of like fat, but yet, when you look at him again, he's fat, but like you do not doubt his strength, that he could be strong, that type of thing. So they had to get Michael Clark Duncan. But years later, you have Vincent D'Onofrio, who was from Full Metal Jacket, right? Now, maybe you're wondering, well, why didn't they not get him then? But maybe his body size, his age, he was too young, or he didn't look the part at that time, but now he does. Now he fits the bill, so that's why they're able to get him. So that was an acceptable change. But nowadays, it seems like they're changing genders and race swapping for the sake of doing it. Just for that reason, there's no logical explanation other than to do it. And sure, you could still make a great story. It doesn't, whether it's good or bad, has nothing to do whether they turned a male character female, or turned a white character black, or Indian character Chinese, and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with that. It could still somehow it turns out to be very great, very grand, right? But then you also have to wonder, okay, it turned out great. Would have they still gotten the same result if they kept the same race? Was it absolutely necessary to make those changes for it to be great? What is the reason behind changing it? Oh, it's because you can't think of anything else other than now is the times of diversity, and to be diverse, and use these things as a platform to showcase that. Instead, why don't they just make new things that are like that? Let's take the Little Mermaid, for example. Yeah, you see, it's more like I'm using this reaction video as my platform to say what I want to say. But I'll try to keep it somewhat brief, even though we're going on like 7 minutes almost. The Little Mermaid, they changed it, and now Little Mermaid is black. Scuttle is a female. She has her new song. She's a Aquafina, an Asian, voiced by an Asian woman, Scuttle, right? So they did a couple racial swaps there. King Triton's daughters are anything but Javier Bardem's race. They're all different kind of races, and yet he's supposed to be related to Ursula, which is played by Melissa McCarthy. Something's kind of weird there. There was no need to change the Little Mermaid black, first of all, but they did it, as what I just said earlier, for that reason. Someone told me too, a dear friend of mine, I will not use names, but and I respect this man highly, but he said, for these kinds of remakes, the original is always there. They're not deleting it. So, there's no need to be mad, that kind of thing. Well, it's more like people, myself included, are mad or upset about these things, because when they make a live action version of it, unless you're a true fan, maybe because you're not a fan of it, but so you can't understand it or see it the way we see it, we want to see a live action version of our beloved animated version. And when you race swap, you completely change it, and that crushes and destroys our dreams of seeing that live action, equivalent of version take on it. Having Little Mermaid, who was white in the animated version. We want to see that translate into live action. Instead of it's almost like now when you see merchandise, although it's not always the case, but they're really putting out this new Little Mermaid, who's black, almost as if maybe they're not intentionally trying to do this, but it just seems like it, trying to delete the original white Little Mermaid, who was voiced by Jodie Benson, but then you still see them lingering about, and then you have all the young kids. Now maybe they're a little confused. Well, which one's Little Mermaid? What's going on? It's so I just feel another example. With Snow White and that whole thing, and then Cinderella. Wasn't there like some kind of Cinderella musical? Although I don't think it was a big like film thing, but still there was another Cinderella that seemed like it was somewhat faithful translation to the cartoon, which I have that one, by the way. I've seen it one time and really enjoyed that one, that Little Mermaid, that came out in, I don't know, was it like between 2010, 2015, something like that? And I thought that was pretty good. But see, something like that is a good adaptation of live action to animated. They should have done that with Little Mermaid. With Marvel, when they first started off, they were more concerned with making their films comic book accurate, for the same reason why I want, and people like me want to have our live action of Disney animated films to be animated version accurate. For the same reason. So at the time they were making things comic book accurate. Robert Downey Jr. He really looked like Tony Stark in the translated from the comics and cartoons on screen, right? Captain America, Thor, same deal. But nowadays, because this whole thing has kind of come up, they're more concerned with showing the diversity and not, who cares whether everything's accurate or if the story's, great, just as long as we get the message out there. So that's my concern. So now I'm going to go see this, and that's my argument. It's, I could simply say, it's people who say like, why, they're not white, or who cares if, if they're, if they gender swapped and race swaps, just as long as the story's great. Fair enough, but on that same token, would they still have gotten the same results if they kept it true to what it originally was? You have to think that way. Oh, okay, maybe it would have. Now the second question is, why did they do it? Oh, see, because, well, they just did it just to do it. You see, that kind of thing. So it's, so all those people that say, wow, or, or nowadays everything is called woke or diverse, and everyone blames that, just, who cares if they're well, that's now who's giving the cheap answers, First they're complaining to us that we're, all the same, complaining that, with the race swap. But these are the reasons, the examples of the bullet points of our reasoning behind it. Well, sure, the generic thing is, okay, they didn't have to, race swap, oh, they're gone woke, or they're, all this inclusion, okay, and we could simply just stop right there, just as they stopped right there. Oh, why, everything, they're not white, then they stopped right there. Now let's take it a step further. These are our reasons why, what I just said. Now, what are your reasons? Because they did it because they want to be diverse and use this platform as a way of showcasing that. So there we go. There's no need. That's all I'm saying, is there's no need to do that, Okay, anyways, let's go check this out. So this is Mr. and Mrs. Smith here.
This your first time in New York?
Should we be asking each other that?
So of course, completely
Have you ever
race
told
swap.
anyone?
Asian and
No.
black.
Not really.
Really?
Whereas of course the Brad Pitt version, but again, as someone said, it can reside in the same world of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, unless they're making this as a one-for-one to be the same as the movie. Then that's a remake.
Software engineers.
A one-for-one translation, or one-for-one remake of the film, which I don't remember the film that much. I just remember they were trying to kill each other because of conflicting quests that they got.
How's the intimacy between
It
the
looks
two
like
of
I
you?
saw Ron Perlman there, and I also saw Paul Dano. That looks like John Turturro. Yeah. John Turturro. Yeah. Okay, so we have like an
What do you think happens
all-star
if we
cast
fail?
over there.
Our marriage?
Our mission.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I'll look upon it as something that takes place in that world of the Brad Pitt, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But to be quite honest, I think they mean this to be a remake, because what are the chances of the same type of thing happening where they're going to want to kill each other, just like what happened to the other Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? It doesn't, it's okay, I as I said, I was never a big fan of the film, the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie film, and I just have like just a general interest in this, and as I said at the beginning of this, I wanted to use this as a platform myself to say what I wanted to say about that, about this whole thing, what was going on, and because of the comments I saw. Okay, so happy holidays, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed, and see you.